There is no way of increasing the difficulty of a Pokemon game more well known than the Nuzlocke challenge. For those not in the know, the largest multimedia franchise in the world doesn't like putting difficulty settings in their video games, leaving it to fans to design their own self-imposed challenges. Originating on 4chan in 2010, one such self-imposed challenge, by the name of a user named Ruby, and later Nuzlocke, hence the name, gained enough notoriety that it became the sort of baseline rule set for many such challenges. The rules, if you've missed them, are as follows. You can only catch the first Pokemon in each route, and if the Pokemon faints, it must be treated as unusable. You know, like units in Fire Emblem titles who hit 0 HP before New Mystery of the Emblem and Awakening happen. Suddenly, the game becomes that much more complex and people would bond more with the Pokemon they wouldn't tend to use. As a huge Pokemon fan myself, I wanted to do a challenge like this that would push someone to their limit. So I added some extra rules, the classic hardcore Nuzlocke rules. 1. Playing in set mode as opposed to the standard shift mode. This means you don't get that extra turn to switch. 2. Not allowing items to be used in battle. So held items and Pokeballs are okay though, for obvious reasons. And 3. We can't level up further than each gym, which prevents just grinding over any problematic fights. And finally, we made one extra change to make this the hardest Pokemon Fire Red Nuzlocke. Instead of a Pokemon becoming unusable when they hit 0 HP, I decided to make this a deathless run. If a single Pokemon faints, we restart the entire challenge from the beginning. A hardcore, no death Nuzlocke. Because I'm just a connoisseur of bad ideas.
We are not flying too close to the sun. I am exactly as warm as I need to be.
You were almost killed by a fucking laugh.
It's the tutorial site. We literally cannot lose.
We will lose.
Don't go for the whole 5. Oh god, if we get crit here we lose. But also if we good and the lift get... Hey look, it's our first encounter. What? No! No! This one won't kill. This won't kill. What? Yes, this is all part of the plan.
I don't believe you have a plan for a second.
Our name for this challenge is Pixel, with our rival named Noise. Each run needs to be played perfectly, with no missteps to minimize the RNG in our favor. So we pick Bulbasaur. I'm a big fan of the move Leech Seed, which can be used in a number of situations to give a player some more room to breathe in a tight spot. Did you know the optimal way to beat the rival with Bulbasaur is to use Growl right out of the gate? I didn't know this, but also it didn't matter as Noise and then Noisy as Charmander scored multiple critical hits, immediately ending 2 runs. So, on our 3rd attempt, it still didn't matter and we cleared our rival, now Noisiest, because Noisiest wouldn't fit, and we could probably attempt the challenge. We got the Pokedex, caught a Rattata and a Mankey, witnessed the worst tutorial on how to catch Pokemon, and bought out the Titan supply of antidotes on our way to Viridian Forest. Outside the forest, Route 2, we caught a Caterpie. Inside the forest, we caught a Weedle. And after pointlessly keeping our party reasonably well leveled, we demolished Brock's team with Vine Whips. Then, nearly died to the first last of the next route because I got scared, and Janice's Pidgey has Gust and Sand Attack. I don't know what happened there, but neither do I really want to.
You were almost killed by a fucking lass.
We nabbed a Jigglypuff before Mount Moon, a Paris in Mount Moon, and an Ekans on Route 4. The Ekans has the only valid name imaginable. Pointlessly keeping our party reasonably well leveled meant that we spent a half hour just grinding before I gave up and tried to use a Gut strategy to clear out the rival. The ability Guts has seen a good amount of use in both competitive play and in challenge runs. This ability increases a Pokemon's attack stat by 50% if they have a status condition. And, well, it usually isn't too hard to get a Pokemon poisoned fairly close to a gym or a major fight. With the Rattata this low level though, that wasn't happening.
Pyre, never forget that it was your plan that led us here.
Bulbasaur beats Brock, we nab a Spearow named Shadow from Route 3 this time, and grind out our second Weedle, all the way to level 20 to obtain a Beedrill. I'm unsure why we did that, we won't do it again. Spearow is the more important party member here, as we need someone who can take down that pesky level 18 Charmander owned by the rival. So we grind that to level 20 so we can take on the Charmander with Theodore and... a burn?
Yeah,
a burn!
That sucks.
That's the worst possible go-ahead here. It burns. In this run, we got a Spearow on Route 22 immediately, but this is also the only time I forgot to buy out Viridian City's entire supply of antidotes. We got poisoned in the forest and didn't make it back in time to heal.
Hi, and welcome back to this episode of Soft Block Picking. Well, the only thing that actually causes a soft lock is Pyre's own stupid rule set.
I can't believe this! The section around Misty is the worst part of the game for this challenge. The rival with a level 17 Pidgeotto and a level 18 Charmander is a threat to nearly every Pokemon we could have at this point. Our level cap is 21, Misty Starmie, but the only Pokemon to fight against to level up are between the levels of 6 and 12. If we beat Misty, we still have to beat the rival and we don't have access to any more routes. And our level cap is only increased by 3 to 24 for a ton of mandatory battles and another rival fight before the next gym leader. This whole section is just tedious and not fun to replay, which means we want to find the optimal path through here to minimize the length of time we spend here on the obligatory reruns. If we use Squirtle, we can beat a Bulbasaur with Pidgeotto or Spearow and hope we get an Oddish in the next route to use against Misty. The chance of an Oddish is roughly 55%, taking into account Nuzlocke rules. We can exploit the duplicate clause and all of the previous routes to remove other Pokemon from the encounter pool. Beating Charmander is more complex than beating Bulbasaur, since the only Pokemon we have that can reasonably beat it while struck by the 10% burn chance is Geodude. Geodude also has a 25% encounter rate. We could also evolve Magikarp before the rival battle, but I'd prefer to not waste hours of my life doing that each run. We can just overpower it with Fearow instead. If you spend way too much time fiddling with the probability formulas you learnt back in high school, you can work out that thanks to Spearow appearing in 3 routes before this fight, it's 22, 3, and 4, alongside a collection of overlapping encounters, Rattata, Pidgey, and Mankey, we have a roughly 79% chance of obtaining a Spearow each run. So on run 6 we obtain one yet again and use it to take out Charmander. We add a previously caught Pidgey to the team and use it to siphon XP from the rest of the party so we can have a second decently bulky mon, and save Bill from his furry plight. Oh, and we beat Misty earlier by just spamming Vine Whip. Ivysaur sort of makes for a non-issue. On our way to Vermilion City, we find a Meowth and named it Harvard, misspelling the name of the university. It was only fitting that we use it to weaken a Diglett in Diglett's cave and you know what, Diglett are just strong enough to be scary, so— No, it has Arena Trap! This could be bad! Did you know Arena Trap is so good that even Diglett has been banned from competitive tiers because of it? Oh, don't like that at all.
I told you that.
You were so right.
Yeah. Damn it! Oh, I didn't want to be right.
I should have switched in the starter beforehand. Why? I said I wanted the starter.
Yeah. Also, you knew about Arena Trap. So hi, welcome to Pyre's incredibly bad idea where we reset the entire run if a Pokemon faints.
Time for run 7! No, wait, run 8? So on to run 9 now. Using Bulbasaur, we sweep our way through Misty where— oh god, if we get crit here we lose, but also if we
You need to stop saying things, Pyre.
That was mean!
Every time.
That was mean!
Every time!
So what about run 10? Run 10? That's gonna be the one where— 11. I missed 2 tackles in a row.
Run 12. Give it up for run 12. How disappointing.
So in run 12, both Misty and Brock fall to Ivysaur. Our route 3 encounter Spearow turned Fearow manages to deal with Charmander this time, and we decide to level up the Pidgey again. It becomes a Pidgeotto, and we dump this weird fish rebuild for 500 at the daycare before spending a lot of time running up and down a hallway. When we get the fish out, it's level 19, we feed it a candy to turn it into a god. A god who will be entirely useless against the next gym, so this time we learn from our mistakes and use Fearow to catch the Diglett encounter. Whilst the Diglett's only purpose is destroying the 3rd gym, there is a small tree in the way, which means you need to hop on a boat. We fight the rich people who can afford to hop on a cruise ship mid-pandemic because we need XP for Diglett. Thanks to Diglett's stat spread, the chance of winning against the gym is extremely high. However, the fact that its defenses make it paper mache look like an impregnable tank is cause for sustained concern. We fight our rival on the boat again, and this time he is swept away by birds and Gyarados. The fight against Lieutenant Surge is a cruisy one, with a good scare when Raichu and Diglett trade crits with each other, and after getting lost in a cave for a while and passing through a ghost town, we make it to Celadon City and its grass gym. Yet we have 2 birds and a god. Erica has nothing on this. Beating Erica also notably increases our level cap from 29 to 43. This gives us a really safe sweet spot to grind our team up and gain levels to make sure we're prepared for the next mandatory areas. We obtain our next party member from this generous fellow who gives you a free Eevee, which we will evolve when we figure out which evolution is most important. We head over to Lavender Tower and destroy our rival who has an illegal Gyarados with Thrash and has added such powerful Pokemon like Execute to his team. Our intent had been to come here to add a new Pokemon to our squad, but you can't catch unidentified ghosts, so we need the Silph Scope, and to do that we need to clear out Giovanni. He doesn't scare me at all. What does scare me is the mandatory trainer required to get the lift key. He has a Coughing which has self-destruct, and this could just end the run offhand. So, after grinding Fearer for a bit and remembering Fly exists, he uses self-destruct on the first turn of Fly. This guy doesn't have the self-scope, he has the lift key. Gyarados handily takes out Giovanni with a collection of water pulses, and now we have the Silph Scope to clear Lavender Tower with. Lavender Tower has 3 wild Pokemon, a 90% chance of Ghastly, a 1% chance of Haunter, and a 9% chance of Cubone. We want a Ghastly or Haunter, specifically for Koga, the Poison type gym leader. These ghost Pokemon have access to the move Psychic, obtained via a free TM, which I can pick up now. They also can't be poisoned and resist damage from the type. And most importantly, they're unaffected by his Coughing and Wheezing's self-destruct. If I don't get one, I'll have to work out some sequence of bulky Pokemon that could one-shot the Coughing and resist the poisons and explosions. Whilst there are options like Graveler, Venusaur, Snorlax and Gyarados, it's definitely not a sure thing, and Haunter is the safest option by a long shot. Luckily, we nab one later though and don't have to think about the other options, and we teach it Psychic. A couple of levels later, we put a Ghost to rest and clear out Team Rocket, netting us the Pokeflute, a fantastic item we will never use in battle. Next up is Celadon City to take out the Snorlax next to the bike path. Through a combination of Intimidate, Leech Seed, and realizing it only has normal type moves, we find ourselves overprepared and kill it. Was I too prepared?
Is it possible to over-prepare a strategy?
I lost the Snorlax.
Oh boy.
That's really funny.
That is really funny. Unfortunately, our reactions were too muted to make for a good clip, so
there were 2 of them.
Oh, of course.
We go over to Route 11 and try again with a more successful outcome. After clearing out several routes and gaining access to Fuchsia City, before taking on the gym we go back to Saffron City and fight most of Team Rocket in Silph Co, with a few awkward calls along the way. The rival battle in Silph Co has level 40 Pokemon, making him a huge threat, but we can't level up too much because both of the next 2 gym leaders, Koga and Sabrina, have a cap of level 43. So it's important to make sure we have as few battles as possible between these major fights to avoid going over the cap. Koga's gym trainers are ultimately more trouble than he is, and Haunter handily sweeps. For the rival battle, I evolve Eevee into Jolteon and buy the Thunderbolt TM from the casino for 80,000 Pokédollars before leveling it up along the newly accessible water routes near Cinnabar City. With 3 Pokemon weak to electric moves, this seems to be the best bet. After being almost traumatized by an Execute with Stun Spore, glad that won't ever happen again, it seems to have been a good call, as Jolteon is successfully able to remove half of his team. Giovanni is hilariously pathetic for a mob leader and is beaten by swapping between Venusaur and Gyarados. We get a Master Ball for our efforts and I immediately use it on Zapdos. We can't use it yet because it's level 50, but it's one of my favourite legendary Pokemon and it's sure to be useful later. The Saffron City gym is easily cleared by Snorlax. Snorlax's high special defense and health, as well as its powerful body slams, makes short work of all of the frail psychic types. Beating Sabrina has boosted our level cap to 47, and after an awkward stint in the abandoned Pokemon Mansion where I got lost, we enter the 7th gym. I refuse to engage with the quiz show mechanics, and Gyarados serves everything, including Blaine almost. We couldn't use burn heals in the fight, so we swapped into Snorlax to take out his Arcanine. God, it's shocking how comparatively easy the game is now. Leaf Green and Fire Red added the Sevi Islands, which have a mandatory quest between the 7th and 8th gyms, which helpfully contain new encounters and trainers to make setting up your Elite Four team easier. I got an Execute at the Safari Zone and thought this might be helpful later, and used it on the islands to grind it up. This run was going extraordinarily well, and I could not wait to take on the final battles. And then I made a critical blunder. After spending the entire game avoiding optional double battles because they contain some surprisingly difficult trainers, I accidentally rolled into one with a weak Venusaur that I'd forgotten to heal. With both of my opponents targeting it and one scoring a critical hit, it fell, ending the run. It's a huge pain to restart from the beginning here, but those are my rules. We reboot the game, wipe our save, and start this all over again. In run 13, we found a level 29 dog trio instead of a feasible Diglett, with no way of safely catching it. Even if we could use it, this meant we were down an important team member for Lieutenant Surge. An Oddish was found in Route 4 and evolved into Gloom, but I was unable to course correct, leading to unfortunate defeat at the hands of Paralysis. On run 14, our Spearow was crit by youngster Ben, the Shorts Kid. We lost to the comfy Shorts Kid. By this time, we worked out a consistent path, which minimizes luck in our encounters. Pick Bulbasaur, sweep Brock, nab a Spearow, pick up Magikarp, beat the Cerulean rival fight with an evolved Spearow, beat Misty with Ivysaur, pick up Diglett from Diglett's cave, clear Lieutenant Surge with it, clear Erica with Fearow, Pidgeotto and Gyarados, pick up Ghastly and Eevee, evolve Eevee into Jolteon, teach Ghastly Psychic, clear Giovanni with Gyarados, nab Snorlax, white Koga's gym with Snorlax and Haunter. So, by the time we're at Silph Co, we're on a high and everything is cruisy, blissfully unaware of the most evil member of our rivals team.
I think you should fly.
No. Oh fuck, what? What? No! 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 What the fuck? I took that well. A 6.25% chance to crit, a 10% chance to inflict confusion, a 75% chance to move, and a 50% chance to hit myself in confusion. If any of these factors did not come into play, I would have been able to switch Fearow out and win. However, this also could have been avoided if I leveled up the Fearow further. We lost round 17 to the first tribal battle again. We nearly run this attempt into a ditch after a stray self-destruct cripples but doesn't KO Ivysaur, and we encounter the most vicious Electrode known to man, in which we take it out using the big brain strategy. I know, I figured it, okay, there's no reason for him to use Spark, yeah? We took out the Silph Co rival fight this time, caught Zapdos with the Master Ball, revived the Nominite, swept Sabrina with Snorlax, swept Blaine with Gyarados, and after doing only a smidge of grinding to avoid repeats of run 12, we went up against the final gym leader, Giovanni. How this man is also an employed gym leader without being detected as the Team Rocket boss is beyond me, but after some serious brainstorming we came up with the perfect solution to take out his team. Oh god, okay. Is that it kills it?
Hashtag Gyarados sweet.
Gyarados sweet. After some quick grinding with all 8 badges, we smoothly beat the rival and progressed into the final dungeon for the first time, Victory Road. Tension was now higher than it had ever been before. I didn't fight a single trainer without looking them up in advance. And then, at last, we made it. Final challenge. The Elite Four. On our 18th attempt. Now was of course the time to carefully go through our squad and analyze what could be done to optimize our victory. We set our levels to 56 going in, as this would prevent us from over-leveling against the champion come the finale, and began to work out the final squad. Jolteon, Snorlax, Zapdos, Gyarados, Haunter, and Omastar. The best of the best I could think of. The final test begins. First up is Lorelei. Her mostly water-type team fizzles out when exposed to the powerful thunderbolts of Jolteon, with Snorlax snoring her Jinx to unconsciousness. Against Bruno, I had a surprise hidden power. Haunter had access to a grass-type variation of it, allowing it to easily one-hit KO both of his Onix. It can't one-shot the Hitmonchan, but it can remove the next Onix before we face down the Machamp. Upon which we realised I wasn't actually prepared for this. It's bulkier than anticipated and bulks up for an attack and defense boost. After some hurried switching, we managed to take it down with Jolteon before easily taking out Hitmonlee with Haunter for the win. Agatha's team is hilariously easy, but not for the reasons it was supposed to be. I'd anticipated sweeping with Snorlax after teaching it Shadow Ball, but each of her team members was ultimately dispatched in a couple of turns by different Pokemon. Lance I had a plan for. The Dragon-type Elite Four member has a team almost entirely weak to Ice, so I take out Gyarados with Thunderbolt and use Rain Dance to set up a Swift Swim sweep with Omastar. Both Dragoners go down easily, with somehow Dragonite hangs on, with just a sliver of health, and deals a ton of damage with Outrage, and then the rain goes out. Omastar cannot take another hit and will be outspared, which forces me to switch. Then Lance gets to heal. I bounce between Snorlax and Gyarados to find a good plan, And then I'm hit with the whammy. Lance decides to switch. This is terrifying. Whoa, he switched!
Ooh, what? That's cool.
That's nifty.
Alright, smart AI, let's go. Yeah?
I'm scared.
Yeah? Oh, that was scared laughter, not I've got this in the bag laughter. Oh dear.
I wanted to remove Aerodactyl quickly by forcing it in against Omastar. Omastar could take any hit from its attacks at full health, but I now have a Snorlax against it, who has little in the way of offensive capabilities to remove it. I'm terrified because of its ancient power, and in a worst case scenario it could trigger the Omni Boost, which raises all of its stats and leaves me without a counter. And that's exactly what happens. He could use ancient power, and he gets the shit! Fuck! Nothing I have is safe against it, and nothing I have can outspeed it. Aerodactyl takes that 0 after I uselessly switch, and thus ends the run.
Yeah, that's... okay. Alright, what run number are we up to now?
This sucks. Making it so far, only to fall at one of the final hurdles. There's only one thing for it. I pack up my things, and I restart the file. Run 19. I'm in a huge rush this time around, desperate to make up for all of that lost time. So I make several terrible plays, and yet somehow, beyond all belief, I salvage every single one of them. Despite all of the hype moments, this is still easily my least favorite run of the entire challenge. The feeling of losing that save file that got so close is just looming on me, permeating into this experience, and I can only think about potential ideas for another run of the Elite Four, or what I could have done differently, without stopping to think about what was directly ahead, or enjoying that. So when I make it to the Elite Four, I tense up. I don't want to just fail again and do this all over again. So I decide that if I have to do all of this once more, it'll be my choice. I restart. I play an entirely new run, all the way to the Elite Four. I played it slowly, I took my time, I studied, I planned out a new team, new strategies, and I discovered the game changer. I began my run 19 charge of the Elite Four: Graveler, Gyarados, Snorlax, Jolteon, Kabutops, and Zapdos. Jolteon dispatches most of Lorelei's team with ease, with Snorlax removing that pesky final component, Jinx. Against Bruno, I made the same mistake as last time, with nothing to take on Machamp with. However, after some clever switching, I dispatch it with Kabutops of all things. I was proud of myself for that one. It didn't last long, as Hitmonlee scores a crit against Jolteon, ending run 19. I forgot that full health was crit range. But as I have run 20 on the back burner, I'm not discouraged this time. I even make a few changes to optimize it. At the power plant, I could find a Magneton. This could be the Pokemon I needed to resist some extra types. Using the previous routes, I could eliminate enough Pokemon from Route 10 to guarantee a Voltorb encounter. I could use this encounter to remove Voltorb from the power plant. This would increase my chances of obtaining a Magneton from 40 to 57%. However, I then realized this was needless, as both Magneton and Electabuzz are the only Pokemon that appear in the location above level 30. Using a Repel, the chance of finding Magneton would be 2 to 1, 66%. Fun fact, if I was playing Leaf Green, which actually doesn't have Electabuzz, I would have just been guaranteed the encounter, but oh well. The Run 20 squad going in was Jolteon, Snorlax, Gyarados, Haunter, Omastar, and Magneton. And this time, things would be different. The Lorelei rematch was laughable. Magneton and Jolteon wiped the floor with her, and Snorlax stalling her Jinx for laughs. I technically this time have even less to deal with Bruno with, but this karate man isn't experienced enough to understand how to deal with pivoting. Oh, so I thought. Gyarados removes Onix, Haunter removes Hitmonchan, I switch from Haunter to Magneton to bait out an Earthquake from Onix. It turns out though that Bruno is experienced in the art of Mushin, no mind. A mental state reached only by the most experienced martial artists, and uses Earthquake against Haunter, which would have nulled it entirely, but I switched into Magneton. A 100 power stab move that deals 4 times damage. And so ends run 20. Bet.
What?
What do you mean?
Yeah, that.
Whoa!
That
Whoa!
sure baited out the earthquake, alright.
Magneton holds out on 3 HP. We switch. Gyarados takes out Onix. Machamp is next. This is less than optimal. I wanted to switch in Gyarados to proc the Intimidate, but we had a backup plan. Clever switching and Rain Dance. But we didn't even need to use this though because Gyarados could smell blood. Haunter then dispatches Hitmonlee with complete safety. Agatha was even easier this time than the last. Snorlax and Magneton dispatch her entire team without any effort, even giving me time to style on her with a lock-on Zap Cannon combo. A welcome reprieve before the grudge match. Lance. And this time, we'd get him. Magneton deletes Gyarados and we send in our Gyarados against the Dragonet. Rain Dance. Our Omastar is actually weaker this time and doesn't take out Dragonair immediately, so we have to switch them out when Lance brings in his second. The Omastar sweep may be unfeasible, but Snorlax can still make an easy KO. In fact, Snorlax even easily tanks the outrage of Dragonite 5 levels stronger. Lance tries to save face, use some heals, but Snorlax laughs. The last ditch effort, a Hyper Beam, only works to my advantage, allowing a free switch into Magneton. Aerodactyl comes in, and not only does it outspeed, the Ancient Power even triggers the feared Omni Boost again. But even still, with damage like that, there was nothing he could do. All that remains is just one match between us and the end of this challenge for good. The final rival battle, the champion and us, Noisest and Pixel. Oh, I didn't actually put Rain Dance on 0. So our first step is to blunder your way through a mistake immediately. Doesn't matter. Because his next switch is Rhydon. Rhydon uses Earthquake. There's no doubt about it. We are made of paper mache. We get off and Intimidate. This is enough to survive one Rock Tomb. Unless it crits, then we're fucked.
Don't say unless. For the love that all that is holy.
Times 4 damage, taken out. Awesome. 2 down.
Next is
Great
Okay,
question.
Kaya has planned this out.
Alakazam.
Alakazam. We have the perfect mod for this. It's called Snorlax.
We have leftovers.
We have leftovers. We also have Rest. We also have Shadow Ball. It's going to be a slight problem if it gets the special defense drop. Or a crit. It doesn't matter! Because Alakazam has no defense!
Aha! 3 down.
3 down. 3 to go. Let's see what he does. Executor. We lack a direct counter for Executor. What we can do is pivot around Snorlax, Haunter and Magneton, stalling it out until it literally cannot attack us, whilst leading Magneton in upon victory. This baits out his strongest Pokemon, Charizard. We switch in Omastar, which would allow us to one-shot with Ancient Power. But the Charizard refused to go down that easily, pulling out some serious damage complete with a burn. We switch into Gyarados, but even that wasn't safe.
That was a lot of damage for
That was a
move
crit.
that wasn't very
It was a
effective.
crit.
It was not a crit.
Was it not a crit?
It wasn't a crit.
It was not a crit.
It was not a crit?
It was not a
It
crit.
wasn't a crit?
It wasn't a crit.
Oh, fuck. With Snorlax sitting in the back, asleep, there was only one option. Risk the entire run on a 6.25% critical chance by switching in Jolteon to deal a final, definitive blow. Fire Blast did not crit, and Thunderbolt cannot miss. Just 2 attacks, and the dream is achieved. That's it! That's it! That's the run! That's the entire run!
Yes!
That's
Oh no, the secret 5th
My mind's
champion!
over already? It's not fair! Yes, it is fair!
This is
We
more
want
than
this fair and square.
Oh my god.
The challenge run is over, and the Pokemon Fire Red Hardcore Deathless Nuzlocke is complete. That was a huge waste of time, sweet lord, holy hell. Never do this for your own sanity. Like, I feel super good about completing this, but also, wow, that was really bad. You should, give me suggestions for a more reasonable challenge, and then subscribe/ring the bell so you know when I do. Also, I can't do this again. If I do, Madison and Angelus will probably kill me, and do I really want to invoke their wrath? A huge thanks to everyone who stayed this long, and please check out our other stuff. Our news, reviews, previews, and more can all be found at noisypixel.net and, on this YouTube channel. So anyway, I'm not playing Fire Red again for like a million years.
Yeah,
Minimum.
no, you played enough for a
I
lifetime.
don't think I want to play. Go to Kanto for a millennia.
I agree. I never want to see Kanto again. Jesus.
Noisy Pixel.